Yeah.
Because hers was
Uh,
prunes, and then ours was huckleberries in this area for Eastern Washington.
oh, oh, Eastern. So you're out at, how do you say, Spokane or Spokane?
Spokane.
Of course. I was
Yeah,
like,
well, and
the
it's fun
comms.
hearing everybody change it up because it also is a Native American way of saying it. But we also have Gonzaga University that's been like up in the Final Four a couple of different times in the NCAA tournament and stuff. And it's fun hearing the announcers call it Gonzaga because they want to try to make it sound all fancy and stuff. But no, it's just
Yeah.
Gonzaga.
Um, that's such, yeah, that region of like Washington, it's almost like that Idaho and like Western Montana are all just like
Yeah.
come together because you guys got what, the desert to your west, right?
Yep, yeah, the Wenatchee Valley right there, the Walla Walla Wenatchee Valley, where we got a lot of Walla Walla onions are kind of known for that, but do a lot of hops and a lot of different vineyards and apple orchards through there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Washington, I've only been around the peninsula, around Puget Sound.
Hmm.
It was,
Yeah, most of the time when you say Washington, everybody instantly thinks Seattle, but Seattle's like on the very far edge of there.
it's such, I don't know, I don't want to be disparaging. It's not my cup of tea. Let's just put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, I like it, but yeah, everything's just too dang expensive over there. And
Dude,
it's bled over to this side of the state with the housing prices. I mean, that's why co-living is something that I'm going to be starting the portfolio here on because it's just, I mean, the prices went up so much and property taxes have gone up so much and the rent rates have stayed the exact same and wages have stayed the exact same. So, nobody's really able to raise rents too much and you can't get into many deals that'll do any type of cash flow unless you do something along this lines of creative uh, and co-living and so with that and I've been kind of looking at duplexes before but I was looking at duplexes that had like higher square footage and multiple rooms to kind of do a co-living thing anyway in the first place and after I got
mm,
back from squad up that was something that I was like, oh yeah, that's the way to do it right there. So
yeah,
that's been
I
my
heard those
focus is
crush.
yeah and that way if their regulation does come down, which I highly doubt it would, doesn't make sense why it would, but if there was any type of regulation, you could still swap it back to a duplex and still cash flow that way, or at least run it as a duplex while you're getting prepared on one half to turn it into co-living, and then while you got that one loaded up, you can switch over and do the other side, the other half of the duplex, and start doing your construction on that side too. So it all depends on the deal and the house, of course, but yeah, just trying to find
Yeah,
different strategies and taking looks all around.
that, and frankly, that's why I got into co-living in Colorado. I'm focusing primarily in Colorado Springs,
Mm-hmm.
where I could touch the things, I could see the things, I could run them myself very easily. Like right now, I'm halfway across the world and I'm still running things. So I got all
Mm-hmm.
of my stuff there. Once I get my systems and processes up, that's when I'm going to start looking at those other markets. But man, it's the affordability thing is really what drove me. Not necessarily the profits, which
Mm-hmm.
everybody flashes their checks and all that, but it's like, hey, you have to solve a problem and people will pay you accordingly. And I find that co-living is the only thing that I could potentially even touch. Otherwise, I'm out. I'm paying people to live in my houses at that point.
Yeah.
It's like I can't do that.
Yeah, yeah, and with the affordable thing for the members is a big thing for me because I have a lot of buddies that are Vietnam vets. I have hardworking individuals that the working class families out there that trying to survive on one income for a family doesn't work out so well. But even the folks that are out there with one, two different, three different jobs, and they're working their butts off and still can't really get anywhere because, like here, the all of our properties really, but this property that I'm in right now, in particular, went up 87% in 2022 for property
Well,
taxes. So,
yeah,
they've doubled since we bought the property in 2019. Yeah, 2019 for this one. And then another property of ours went up 65%. since 2023 for property taxes, and the value since then hasn't gone up, but the property I'm in, we got in it at 350, and it's kind of comping out at about 525 right now, which is ridiculous because the right, and that was just within 5 years. So it's amazing that it almost doubled in 5 years, and property taxes did double in 5 years.
No, that's wow. Huh. That's awesome.
Well,
Like
it's
to
awesome
get
in a
into
way,
it,
but yeah,
you know,
exactly. I'm
it's one
trying
of
to
those
get into
bittersweet
something
things.
the market's going to appreciate, so that'll work out for sure. But yeah, knowing that that's the buy-in for house purchases, you need to find other ways to make things affordable for people.
Yeah. And one of the ways, so the most recent purchase I had, I just did a Get Creative, which was okay. It was my first one, so I'll probably look back at it and slap my face on how dumb I sound. But
Yeah,
um,
gotta
you
learn
gotta
somehow.
start somewhere. Yeah, exactly. And it was about how I didn't want to actually get into the house. I wanted to keep somebody from foreclosing, a vet from foreclosing, so he retains his eligibility. And I couldn't find a rat buyer for it in time. I just got tired of paying mortgage. And so I turned it into co-living, and we're putting in the fourth bedroom now, and that thing's going to cash flow 1,000 a month.
There you go.
Yeah, and it was a mistake, and it's very forgiving, and that's what I tell them. Like, hey, it is a very forgiving type of asset class at the end of the day.
Mhm.
But
Well, I like the
nobody wants
fact
to touch it.
that yeah, I like the fact that you can have your occupancy at 60%, 70%, and still at least cover your expenses. So depending on how you got the house set up on the major portion of it would be definitely covered. So that makes it nice for residents coming in and out and in and out. That would definitely work. And like I kind of thought of the co-living back in 2018 on my now ex, the property that we were living in, she ended up inheriting from her dad when he passed away, and she was running that as kind of a co-living situation where she would rent out the other rooms and stay in one room. But she does it more of traditional lease agreements, and but in this
That's how
market,
I do.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she isn't able to get much cash flow coming in monthly because they're smaller rooms and it's an older house in an older area of town. But uh, there's a lot of other amenities that she could probably add on to get a little bit more cash flow out of it. But having just a single rental isn't quite as lucrative as it could be. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's are you looking at doing pad split then?
No, I like the Sam Wegert kind of style. I'm brain farting on the um. Yeah, I said it's been a long day, and I'm nice. It's been going since 9 p.m. last night. Um, yeah, Sam Wegert. I don't know if you've kind of checked out his stuff on the co-living, but it's the same idea as the going with the membership to kind of skirt around any of the rules and regulations, if there was any in that, because Washington State being one of the super tenant friendly states, so doing it with the membership LLC, doing the long term lease on the property. It seems like the way to go, but they also don't cut it into as many rooms as Pad Split does, and don't go through and put, like us here in Pad Split was doing, like split units in each room, and that's not feasible for the cost around here because I have four, well, 3 pumps and 5 heads in this property, and that ended up costing us $25,000 in order to get that done. So it just didn't make sense for a cost of doing heating and AC in each room like Pad Split's doing, and trying to add in as many bedrooms as they're doing. It just doesn't seem like that would be as cost effective for around here. So I'm trying to maybe add a bedroom and cut up common areas like any extra dens or living rooms, maybe even some off kitchen dining areas if there's any that are extremely off kitchen instead of kind of more of a formal dining, I guess.
Hmm.
Uh, to kind of just add rooms there and aim more for the square footage and not the room number itself.
Yeah, and I always go back to looking at parking. That's like the
Yeah.
second thing that I look at because who knows when these people are going to work, and that's the last thing you need is, them pissing each other off because, hey, can you move your car? And the guy just got home from the graveyard shift, and it's like, oh man, like I use I joined Living Smith. It's not a plug. I don't get paid by them. But Grant Shipman, he's up in Denver. He's lived in like community houses when he was
Hmm.
younger. He's been doing it for like 18 years, and his whole thing is about household and conflict resolution. He still puts 8 to 10 people in. He says like that 8 or 9 person is like a good medium, but like 7 to 12 are the
Hmm.
ranges he suggests. And I only have my largest house is 6, so I'm
Hmm.
not up there yet. Um, but it's all about conflict resolution, setting up that household contract with each and every person in there, pretty much forming a family at the end of the day for
Hmm.
expectation management, just like any other long-term rental in single family. It's a family. You're a family. There's
Hmm.
expectations to be made. Somebody's making the decisions, and you're just sitting outside of your co-living saying, hey, here are the rules, but how I set mine up is I have the lease agreement that's immutable, and then I have a household covenant that's kind of like the house rules, and those are the things that are like, hey, this is the baseline, and then you guys that are living in the house during your monthly or your weekly meeting, however often you guys want to meet, but you will meet and discuss things, please look at the rules. And if something's not working, like immediately, no drinking in the common areas. That's my baseline. But I like
Hmm.
to have a beer or a glass of wine with dinner. And so I'd immediately go in there and be like, hey, can I at least have 1 or 2 beers in a common area? And then you vote on it. And if the answer is no, the answer is no. If it's yes, then what's the limit? I always say I will not approve as the owner, I call myself a household supporter. I'm not going to approve of intoxication in common areas. Sorry, guys.
Hmm.
Go to a bar and take an Uber home or something like that,
Yeah.
or go out together. Even better, make friends with one another. It's a weird concept in today's day and age,
Yeah. Exactly.
and
That's
that's
true.
that's one thing that I'm finding is I'm actually like getting excited and happy. So I use Google Voice, um, and they obviously have whatever provider they have. And like my messages are coming through and they're talking to each other. I'm like, hey, can I put in this, water purifier on the sink? And can I do this? Can I leave my dog out? X, Y, and Z. And they're not asking me anything. And I'm like, oh yes, it's working. They're actually forming some kind of camaraderie where they're having social intercourse instead of just holding up in their rooms, which was my fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the idea. Like I posted Sam's website, Scale Your Real Estate, which he's working on rebranding to Scale Your Co Living.
Hmm.
But with them, then they're all about making sure that you have at least, the kitchen is a common area, obviously, with your systems in place for them to have their own cabinets for their own things. And he's got calculations for however many people are in there to how many fridges you need.
Yeah.
Everybody gets their own cabinet, and if you can do a pantry or cabinet that has some type of lock system on there, that's pretty cool. But doing the digital key code door locks for the bedrooms, and then making sure that depending on where a restroom is located in the bathroom, who's responsible for the daily cleanup of the common areas like the restroom and the kitchen. But then making sure that there's at least one common area, whether it be the garage, and you kind of turn it into a hangout area where there's games, there's and like internet access for working professionals. That might be, working from home as well, uh, and trying to set those kind of things up. But he really works on a square footage situation that throughout the years, because he's been doing it for over 10 years, uh,
Yeah.
co-living in general. And uh, so I can't remember the exact calculations, but like a 2,500 square foot is 8 people, and every 250 square foot above that, you can usually add another bedroom into it. On average, what he's been seeing, that with the way you can cut walls up and add walls too, and stuff, that it ends up averaging out to that. So he has it scaled all the way down to 5 bedrooms, all the way up to one of his properties has 11 residents in it. But the big thing is parking, and when you're vetting out uh, your members to uh, make sure you calculate in who has vehicles, and making sure that properties that you're purchasing are close to public transportation, so that way the ones that don't have vehicles that are using the buses or Ubers and stuff like that are at least close to the amenities or close to those services. So
Nice. Do you recall what electronic locks?
I have them in my notes back in my desk. I can run and grab. But yeah, they has electronic locks for outdoor use as well, that have the ring camera type situation on there, so that also works as security. And those run, like you're saying, like $250 a piece for the outdoor ones, and then it was like $150 for the indoor ones. And you can go
Okay.
in and reprogram them per tenant, and so that way each tenant can pick their own number. But yeah, like obviously have the master for anytime there's a change in resident. But
Yeah.
yeah, that way it's safe. Everybody has their own stuff all locked away, because his big three that he talks about is uh, safe, clean, and like comfy, inviting. That you want to be there, and you want to be more of a community, but you want to make sure that it's safe for all the residents, and that's where you do your vetting process of your folks, and then also clean. So having systems in place where uh, they're assigned different common areas, and those can rotate depending on the property and depending on what
Yep.
is put in the membership agreement. But then also once a month or twice a month, depending on how many residents, having professional cleaners come on in to help with the rest of it. But
Do
that's
they pay, or is that part of what he takes out of his reserves?
well, it all kind of depends on the structure in that part. But usually, what he provides is the once a month or twice a month for the cleaning fees, just because that's going to help him in the long run. And then uh, supplying some of the cleaning products. And if somebody wants to use some of their own favorite types of cleaning products, they can. But he supplies the standard cleaning products, and
Yep.
that way it encourages them to keep it safe. But like the
Yeah.
common areas, go in there and play games, um, mingle, read books, network, so on and so forth. But no TVs out in common areas, because there's so many people that fight over the remote control and stuff like that.
Mhm.
To avoid any kind of conflicts that way. But also no leaving personal items, no umbrellas, hoodies, backpacks, stuff out in the common areas to clutter anything up. So that's where your bedroom's for, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's very important. I have TV and just a thing there, but it's in the household covenant. Hey, you get no more than an hour of TV time. And then I even have a calendar. So if they need to schedule that, I provided a calendar. We have like a little communication board where it's also a chore board. So every
Mm-hmm.
week the chores rotate between them.
Yeah, there you go.
And then because there's things that aren't captured in the chores, I also picked up these like little gold coins. And then anytime you like do something for the house that's not like what you normally do, you can give yourself like a little gold coin, or somebody, say, hey, I saw you doing this. I put up a gold coin for you. It's just like one of those little things to demonstrate like, hey, this person is really busting their butt for the rest of the house. They completed their chore and then they're doing others. Cause I got a guy who like, that's his Zen, is like cleaning, and he'll clean,
Mhm.
all the floors. He'll clean the kitchen and all that other stuff and take over other people's chores. And just, and I warned him, I'm like, just talk with people and make sure like they're also contributing to the household.
Yeah.
He's not the cleaner. He's not getting paid to do that. People will start taking advantage of that. I use Sifly, and like I'm halfway across the world, and I'm getting, feeds through Wi-Fi. I don't know if you guys,
Hmm.
but it's like, doors unlocked. I can remotely unlock them anywhere
Hmm.
I have internet access. And that just, connects to the house. Sifely, Amazon. I think it hooks into Ring. There's a bunch. There's like Eufy locks,
Yeah,
and
I think those are the ones. The Eufy ones were the ones that they were talking about. That sounds familiar.
yeah, it depends. Like some have only doorknobs, some have the actual handles. Whatever looks good in your space, I guess. But
Hmm.
definitely electronic locks. You don't have to mess with resetting those things. Somebody losing keys, remotely unlock, things like that. So that's definitely a bonus.
Yeah, and the systems are key too. And I could actually kind of see how, with that coin system, that wouldn't be half bad to like have a setup that at the end of the month or at the end of a quarter or something like that. That the one with the most gold tokens gets like $100 off or $200 off, like a little discount or something like that towards their rent. That'd be kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I don't know. But the one house I have set up like this, so I have only two co-living houses. One where I'm self-managing, all like that. It's all a bunch of young professionals, a bunch of young guys in there. So a lot of the language in the household covenant I like redid, just to make it a little less flowery. And, it was, I don't know, just different language based on the actual residents and all that. Um, no, yeah, no, it's a great space. What else
And
do we have on today?
that's another thing that I really enjoyed about the co-living idea as well too. That you can kind of go with themes as well. Like I said, I have a bunch of the Vietnam vet friends that I ride motorcycles with, and just the military community. My dad's a retired lieutenant colonel from the Air Force, and I have a handful of my close high school friends that are military. So I've always kind of had a soft spot for military. So I thought a military home that would have, you know, current vets, current active duty, and vets of all different ages to kind of still have that lifestyle that they like, the kind of super structured, and they all kind of have more respect for each other and stuff, but kind of give them more of an affordable place to live for, especially the ones that are getting stationed in new places every year, 2 years. So they're having to move around and buying their own place. It's kind of rough on them.
Jason, can you type that guy's name in? Sam, I see.
Weggers, yeah.
Okay. I see Andres is also on. Elise and Pramod is also on as well. What's going on, guys? We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, I apologize. I kind of ramble on every once in a while.
No, you're good.
How you doing, y'all? It's me, Andres.
How you
Hey,
doing,
Andres.
Andres?
How you doing, guys? Sorry, I'm just finishing up my 1099s right now. So
Oh yeah.
I'm off camera.
No, you're good. Do you already have co-living? Are you just getting
Yeah,
into
yeah. I have 5 in DFW. I'm setting it up 2 more right now.
Oh, nice.
Uh,
Okay.
I think we're about to go under contract 1 more today, hopefully. They take the offer. Uh, I'm trying to buy as much as I can aggressively right now. So hopefully by the year I can have 5 more. And then I think with 10 I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a lot. I could definitely see that. Like between the two co-living, I have 8 residents and I only have 5 properties. And so it, more than whatever, 5 times, quintupled the amount of people I have to worry about.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the amount of drama uh, that goes into co-living.
Mhm.
Like for example, I know you guys were talking about Sam right now. I also sometimes have calls with Sam's coaches because I've helping them set up a couple properties here in Dallas Fort Worth, and it's just things that they say on camera that even the past play guys, like they're just trying to get you there, but then once you're in there, you gotta figure it out, right? Like there's gonna be tenant drama, and this is probably the safest spot to talk about that for everybody who wants to jump in. Like it heads up, it's gonna happen. You have to be ready well, you have to go with the mindset like, yes, there will be problems, and I will fix them. And as
Yeah.
long as you
What
do that,
what kind of
you're gonna be
problems
great.
did you run into?
Just tenant conflict. Recently, last week, I had a tenant who did a more credit card fraud in another tenant. He opened the mail. He took a debit card. He took all his money out, and it took like 2 weeks for the detectives to find out. So eventually, they sent me a match. It's like, hey, we have a person here at 4:30 a.m. in this ATM wearing this and that. So I checked the security cameras outside, and that was my other tenant
Hmm.
leaving the house 10 minutes before wearing that outfit, right? He didn't want to leave. The eviction takes 35 days, right? So everybody else in the house was threatening to leave. So I had to go with another guy and, uh, help him understand that he needs to leave like right now. Which, it opens myself to a lawsuit, but I cannot lose 7 guys just because of one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of things learning. I got another one shut down yesterday. No, 2 days ago in Fort Worth.
A property?
Yeah. Yeah. They found out, so you can revert it back and you can run it with 5 rooms, which is the normal code,
Hmm.
but it just doesn't cash flow as nicely. So we're just gonna switch to Section 8 on that one.
Is that Texas wide? The difference between 5 and
Every
6?
every city it has
Yeah.
different numbers. You really have to Google on that. The best way would be to stay under it, honestly. Like that's the way, but it just doesn't cash flow, right? With 5 rooms in Texas, you're maybe making $500. I think for the amount of headaches in the properties, if you're making like 1800 minimum net, you should probably not get into that
Hmm.
because it's a lot, especially if you want to expand, right? So right
Yeah.
now each house brings us around 2200, 2300 net. We have
Okay.
7 to 8 rooms per house, and I think that number is good.
Do you use like traditional long-term rental type lease agreements or are you using pad split?
Oh, traditional, yeah.
Okay.
The membership agreement doesn't really stand up in court.
Hmm.
That's another myth. Even passively, if you go to the Facebook groups where people are getting their properties shut down, that's one of the main things why they're struggling with evictions because they don't have control over the tenant, right? So the judge is like, this is not a lease, period. That means that you're on a month-to-month lease. Therefore, the laws for a month-to-month lease apply. Because by fair housing law, anytime somebody lives in a property more than 30 days, they're a tenant, right? That's why people in Airbnb also struggle to evict people, even though they don't have a lease. They just can't kick them out.
Hmm. No, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And it's screwed up. So counter to like Texas, as screwed up as Colorado is and all of its other laws, I can have any number of unrelated people in a house so long as I don't break the fire code. So now I have to look up like fire code and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
The
that's it.
fire code, uh, it depends on the city. For example, when I do the renovations here, I try to stay with the fire code. The only thing we don't add is sprinklers, because that's a lot of money, and that really would devalue the value of the home. But I have fire extinguishers and fire blankets everywhere. I have 3 per house, so hopefully we don't catch fire, because fire would be really bad. Given the amounts of renovations that we do, adding rooms, it's very likely the insurance will not cover us if the house gets burned down, which is another topic they don't really talk about. That's talk like between investors, like, hey, don't put it on the camera, don't let them know, because insurance. they're always looking for something to not pay you.
Of
And they
course.
walk in and you have an extra wall that's not in the survey, you're done. Especially if that wall has now electric because you added a fan, boom, done. Even if that wasn't the issue, they're like, this was not supposed to be here.
Hmm. It was 2 weeks ago, I believe. So about every other week, I'm trying to hold these. There was a lady from Vegas, Victoria, and she's working with individuals that are making temporary walls. I'm not sure if uh, that's even up to fire code or anything. I'm sure that you have to do some kind of permitting to put up like even temporary walls.
Yeah, I just saw that post about that where it's like more module,
Hmm.
click together type walls, which I thought that was pretty interesting, and wondered how that would work and how you can run electrical through it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, those are pretty good because those are the walls that they use in offices. When you rent the office space, it's just like a square, and then they subdivide the offices. So that's where they're getting those materials and the idea, which it makes
That
sense
makes
because
sense.
a lot of the times, when we're buying these sub two, we don't have equity. Then we're putting money on top, and then if you get caught and you have to go back, now it's more money to fix it up, right? You have to remove the walls, patch everything. Tedious.
Yeah,
I got a
that's
question for you, Andres.
Yes, sir.
To kind of jump back a step on uh, the tenant situation, lease and situation on the legalities on for them staying there for a certain period of time. Is that why Pad Split tries to do the weekly charge instead of a monthly charge? So that way the weekly is more like a hotel type situation instead of more like an actual tenant situation.
There's two ways. One, it's that technically they're not supposed to be advertising a room where they don't have ownership. That's why they have to rent the property with you, because that is called brokering, and you need a license for that in most of the states, right? So they bypass that by renting the house from you, and then they sublease the rooms in their membership agreement. That is mainly their reasoning of why it's doing that.
Okay, because I
Second,
was thinking. Oh, sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead.
In most states, let's say I want to kick out somebody, right? I want to cancel their contract. I have to give them a notice to vacate. In most states, you have to do 30 days, but in some states, you can give the notice to vacate according of the speed of payment. So if I'm letting tenant pay every 15 days, I can kick him out in 15 days. If I'm letting them pay weekly, I can give them a notice to vacate of 1 week.
Oh, okay.
But it has to be on a lease, not on a membership agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I think I'm the only probably co-living investor that has actually put his own money into lawyers. And let me be honest, the 2 3 lawyers that I talked the first time, they hate co-living. They hated it. And these are pro investors and they like the cash flow, but they're like, it's just too much. They were not willing to take on it. Eventually I found a lawyer who was like, hey, at least I'll review your lease. You'll be protected in what things you can put there, what things you can't put there. Because the more people I talk, I do everything, right? From acquisitions to the property management. So the more people I bet, the more I realize the lower the income to people, the more they want to sue you. It's like as soon as I tell them no on something, I will sue you, right? Especially if you're dealing with veterans. Like for example, I know there's a lot for veterans, but I do not deal with veterans. I do not deal with old people. I don't know if it's what's going on, but every time it's like if you don't do what I want, I will sue you. I will report you, and it's like you haven't even come seen the property. Like let's live in peace. But it's just complicated, and given the volume of people that I get, I run my rooms pretty quick, so I just wait until somebody's a good personality, and I tell them, you're sharing the house with somebody else, so your personality has to match them. We have to have some sort of balance in there, which technically I can do because it's against first housing laws, but you have to find your ways, to like how to tell them no without telling them no. Yeah. Did it answer your question, Jason?
Yes, sir. Well, in a way, on that, I was wondering on the getting away from, like, in the Sam Weggert kind of style, they have you own the property, and then you have a secondary LLC that has the long-term lease on that property, and then that's the company that has the membership agreements. So that way, the on paper, everything that the long-term tenant, the person leasing the property is that LLC, and then they have the small members. But in those, I was thinking, well, if they were paying weekly instead of monthly, then that would be able to kind of skirt around the, if they lived in there for a certain amount of time, then it would actually fall under a lease agreement instead of a membership for legalities on being able to do evictions easier that way.
Yeah,
That's my
and
thought, but I don't know because I haven't
Sam
actually
got
practiced
that.
it.
Sam got the model from Atticus, which is the owner of PadSplit, and you know, PadSplit just won their second case ever, right? They, for how long you've been hearing that PadSplit will represent you, blah blah. Blah. They just won their second case. So it's not that it has a good precedent or that the membership agreement stands. This what standed was that it was unconstitutional for the city to make those people homeless. That's how they won it, going that route, which took long. But the other legalities, none of it stand in court, right? And when I took the membership agreement to my lawyers, they're like, "What is this? Like, are they, even if you sign whatever you sign, the moment they cross 30 days, they're tenants. So protect yourself with a lease." Uh, I know the guy in Living Smith, John, you mentioned him. He also uses leases. I think
Yep.
they haven't said it yet, but I think Sam is also going back to leases. Uh, but it depends on the amount of problems that you will have, right? Like right now, I don't have those problems as much because I've uh, made my vetting process better. I wait a little bit
Mm.
longer to find tenants, but yeah, I mean, everything is a new case. Like 2 weeks ago, also, I get a call from a house that the sink is clogged up, uh, and you know they cannot wash the dishes. So I go and there is rice in the sink, but the bad like rice all the way in the sink and what do you call the thing that spins?
Garbage disposal.
The garbage disposal all the way on the wall. Like it was pushed like bad. So they wanted me to find the guy who cooks because there's a guy that cooks every day, and he's like, I didn't do it. So who do I charge?
Mhm.
Right?
I
And
know a
there's
guy, he's actually doing a master lease, and he's doing co-living in one of my properties, and he sets up cameras in the common areas.
mhm.
Because he's like, yeah, people steal stuff in the kitchen, especially, to your point, and it's just like, oh,
Hmm. So now when I put the camera, luckily on the lease I have the option to add the camera, and they are all like, I was like, look, somebody is messing up with him, and I know we know who it is. We have a guy who is OCD clean, right? He's way too clean, uh, just like OCD. And so my other guy, he finished cooking his rice and beans, he sat down to eat, and then after that he left. But the pot was outside, like it happened like within a few hours. You know what I mean? Like it was still hot. It was sitting on the stove, and he just took it upon himself to throw it away. Like he threw his food, right? You're not supposed to throw another person's food. But
mm,
the new guy just doesn't get it. He's like, it has to be clean. It has to be clean. So I need to remove him. But he's on a 12-month lease, and that's also why now I'm switching to month because
yeah,
I wanted to beat him because he broke the rules. And then the lawyer was like, yes, you can. You have all the legal right, but at the end of the day, the judge decides, and he's gonna read that and he's gonna laugh in your face. So he's like, you can try and see if that pushes him out. But if he stays, it's very unlikely that the eviction will be granted because judges don't like evicting people unless they are not paying.
it can you kind of sort of treat it like pad split, where you have another room available somewhere. You might be able to offer him this other room in
Hmm.
a location that might be better for him, or at least get him out of there, and then work with him for a year or something. But yeah, to your point, month to month, that's what I'm doing with mine. And how I tell him is like, hey man, or well, I have all guys right now, but it's like,
Mm.
you might not like this. You say you're okay. I've had plenty of tenants on just regular single family. Oh yeah, I can live out in the mountains. No big deal. And then 2 weeks in, I'm getting calls about mice scratching. And I'm like, you live in the woods on 10 acres. Like, come on. You said you were cool with it. And so I could definitely see like co-living, like, oh yeah, yeah, $750 per room when the average is 900. Of course I can put up with this. And then a month in and they're like, you know. So definitely go for that month to month.
Yeah,
They
and
can
that's
break it and you can break it.
hopefully he lives with that, but if not, uh yeah, those last two things happened recently, the credit card and that thing with the rice. And then it's just managing personalities, man. I think because I'm there 24/7, they have become a little bit too friendly, some of them. So they text
Mm,
me and I have to tell them like stop texting me. Like I was friendly during the interview because that's my job, right? But uh I'm not your friend in a way. Because I start getting texts like, "Hey, look, he left his this person, the new guy, he brushed his teeth, but he didn't really rinse the toothbrush that is sitting in there." I was like, "In which way is that affecting you?" "Oh no, I just wanted to let you know."
huh,
I was like, "Okay," but the thing is that because I also use Google Voice, like you were saying, I have different text vibrations depending on the app, right? So that number that I have there, I tell them it's for emergencies only. So when they
mm,
text me the number and that number rings, it gives me stress. My blood pressure is through the roof. I'm struggling with that because I've had a lot of
good.
problems. You know, I almost got shot in one property. Uh, After running background checks and everything, we had another property where I took over for this guy who was doing a terrible job, and they were just squatters, and the guys would not leave, right?
Yeah.
And the eviction takes what it takes, and they were threatening the other tenant. They opened a car wash in the garage. They were bringing other people's cars and washing them with our water, right? They were bringing
Wow.
underage girls and getting them drunk. I called the police. There's nothing they can do. So
What?
the tenants that were inside the house, they're like, we're leaving, right? And those guys would like text me at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I still have to leave that line open for emergencies in another house. So that when my phone vibrates in that Google app vibration, my blood pressure just goes up like crazy.
Jeez.
Like 3 months ago, I get a call from one of my girls. It's like 11:30 on a Tuesday. She's calling me. I was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" She's like, "You need to kick out this guy. Like he's beating the shit out of his boyfriend." I was like, "What do you mean?" And I checked the cameras, and one of the guys went into the room. He was having sex with his boyfriend outside in the car, and then they got mad, and he grabbed a brick, he destroyed the windshield, and he almost killed his boyfriend. You know what's the funny part? The boyfriend didn't present any charges, so my eviction was unlawful, and I had to let him back in. Of course, he didn't come back in, right? When he came back, I grabbed him and we talked, and he understood uh, that if you move into the house, you have the legal right, but I will find you. And my guys were there with me because I'm a GC, so I always have guys. So I was like, "Here's your deposit. You need to leave right now." And he left. He understood. But what? How do you prevent that?
Oh, now, what? Hmm. What
Yeah,
kind of
that
areas is it? Is it lower income areas? Is it
Not
because
really.
we're dealing with affordable housing? Like that's
It's
that's like the basis for all of this, right?
it's a mindset, man. It's just the,
Yeah.
the the guys here. It's just a different mindset. They're very entitled.
Hmm.
Uh, if they have disabilities, they are very, very aggressive. Every time I talk with one of the guys, because I wanted to try, I was like, okay, this guy's he passes the vibe check. He has disability. He's being compensated by Amazon, and then he's just a cancer inside the house. Talks shit about everybody, and I cannot kick him out. I can't even text. He's like, text me and I'll sue you. My rent is paid on time. I don't bother anybody. And it's true. Now it's better with the other tenants, but he's just a cancer. right? And I gave him a 1 year lease when he moved in, so I have to wait until that finishes and then go month to month, and then after that, I'll see. Which I know sounds terrible, but man, it's just I had another guy, military, right? He was screaming at 3 a.m. I don't know if he had PTSD or what, and he was walking around with his gun. Uh, Same conversation, right? You need to leave. Like,
Mm,
go get help somewhere else. This is not the place to help you. I can help you, you know?
mm, mm, mm. Jeez. What in what way do you vet? Is it face-to-face interview?
Now it's 100. It was then for a little bit I did online. Like, hey, they can go to the house, and I will do a FaceTime kind of walkthrough. Now it's face to face because I'm very good at measuring them. You know, I've been a waiter for 10 years, so somebody walks in and I can tell what they're gonna order, how they're gonna behave, what they're wearing. Uh, so yeah, if they pass the vibe check, then I apply the background check. Then I bet, like actual on paper. Because when some people, especially the nicer they are texting you, the more they will surprise you.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. How do you bet them? Do you meet them online, phone call?
Um, yeah, first it depends where. I have Zillow, Rent Ready, all my applications go through Rent Ready and all that, and they do a financial and background check. And then if anything pops up, we do a phone interview. And then once we do the phone interview, then we're going to do the walkthrough. And now that my house is set up, I'm actually going to get residents to volunteer to walk people through because it's their house. Hey, I want them to have an ownership of the house to where, hey, you don't need to come in, even though, I want them to treat it as if they are the residents and they have a household going on. So I'm going to say, hey, there's an empty room, and instead of raising it, we're going to fill it. I need somebody, I'll give you $50 off of, next month's rent for every showing that you do. So, and they tell me vibe check, and you know, I'll meet with them face to face to actually sign stuff, if need be, but I need them to have some ownership over the house, and it will be filled. It's not going to, not be filled for sure, but, yeah, I'd rather have them tell me how they think that they're going to fit in. And luckily, all of the guys that I got right now, they keep to themselves. They work
Mhm.
either long hours with one job or they have two jobs. One of the guys just got two jobs and he's frankly asking me to miss a couple of days. And I'm gonna, after I get off of this, I'm gonna have to tell him like, no, lease agreement says first after the first day it's $50 straight fee, and then it's $10 every day until you pay me. And that's it. I'm
Oh,
not going
really?
to break the lease.
There's no grace period in Colorado?
No, there doesn't have to be.
Wow.
Mhm. I'm not
Here
going to
in
evict the guy,
Texas.
but
Uh-huh.
there's a maximum fee that I can charge him. It's I forget it off the top of my head, but the the very next day, if you don't pay, you're going to start incurring the fees, and it is what it is. You signed it. It's not backbreaking. That's the thing. It's strict but fair. And then if we have a problem and you still keep missing it, we're on a month to month. And if not, I got reserves to do the eviction process, which unfortunately in Colorado, I have to do. Actually, I haven't done this before. Mediation could be up to 3 months, and then eviction could be up to an additional 9 on top of that.
Wow.
So, yeah, potentially.
No,
And the
here in
sheriff is still
Texas.
backed up for evictions. So,
Oh, that's good. In Texas, you have to give them a 3-day grace period without any penalties by law. Then
I'll
after
I'll
that, you
check
can
with them.
charge whatever, and then up to 10% of the rent. A lot of times I talk to them like what's going on, and because I know how much they're making, like they're barely getting by,
Yeah.
and in a lot of times I just waive the fees like once, But honestly, everybody paid tenants. Probably 2 tenants out of the, I don't know, 36 tenants that I have, 37, that they've been late. Because something, but the good thing is that they gave me a heads up. Like, hey, my check is like $100 short. I have 700. Can I give you the other 100 next week? Like, sure.
Mhm.
Things like that. But yeah. Wait, somebody asked a question here. No weapons on the lease. In Texas, again, it's gonna be state by state. I cannot legally tell them to not have a weapon. The only thing I can tell them is that it has to be concealed in a special container that they can open. And I can tell them to not leave it in the common areas. But I cannot tell them to not bring their guns. Because it's Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that makes
same
sense in
thing.
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense in Texas. I'm over in eastern Washington myself, right next to Idaho, and North Idaho is kind of it's like a little Texas. They definitely like to open carry everywhere they possibly can. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for the insight a bunch, Andreas. I appreciate that, kind of seeing different perspectives, because co-living does have a handful of different types of strategies, and it's just everybody kind of trying to see what works for what area. And since there's no real regulations that we know of for the co-living itself, and no real structure that's been put into place, it's nice hearing somebody that has multiple, and some of the struggles that you go through and some of the things that you see work. So I definitely appreciate you sharing.
Thank you, man. It's always nice talking to people actually doing it, because if you hear podcasts and the interviews, they always tell you you know the seasoning on top, but they don't really talk about the nitty gritty. And I think we need more of that, because everybody's gonna jump into co-living, and there's gonna be a lot of failure. Like, I see it every month when people are calling me like, please, like, what can I do with this house? Like, we bought it 3 months ago. We only have 3 people. And in Texas, for example, if you don't have parking, like, you cannot rent those rooms. Like, Texas is a big place. There's the bus system sucks. The train
Mm.
sucks. Everybody goes to work by car, right? Uh, there's definitely a lot of potential, man. A lot of need for this.
Yeah, the acquisition team that I'm on as well. We just acquired a portfolio and of 4 different co-living houses, and the owner tried to do operating himself, but didn't really have a great grasp of it, and didn't go in and add any extra walls to add any other rooms. So one of them's like a 4-4-3, and another one's a 4-2 or something like that.